Hello there. Welcome to my show, COVID-19 update by Heerak for November 20th, 2020. Um, Today is Happy Future Teachers of America Day. I am actually a current teacher, licensed in the state of Virginia, licensed as a professional teacher in the District of Columbia, the state of Tennessee, state of South Carolina, state of Alabama, eligible in state of Georgia. So, but I welcome people who want to be teachers in the future. I encourage you, if you want to mold the minds of young to become better, to become contributing members of our society. Yeah, I need to be a teacher. We particularly need good Christians to become teachers. It's a good profession. It doesn't pay too well in most places. A lot of work. Um, Many teachers are underappreciated, underpaid. Yeah. So financially, it's not rewarding, but if you feel like you have a call or mission, then that's something that is worth doing. My cousins in Korea are teachers. My father's younger brothers, two daughters, are teachers. Um, Very good teachers. And my father's older sister is a teacher, has been a teacher for a long time. She's retired now. Um, there's beauty, in educating others. Uh, it's a way to build a nation. Um, a lot of Christians become teachers. A lot of pastors' wives are teachers or nurses. Those are the two most popular professions for pastors' wives in the Protestant church, teachers and nurses. Many Christian universities and colleges, they focus on teacher education to produce teachers, but many also have nursing programs. So I would say teacher education is number one for Christian colleges in America and around the world, and then nurses. So there are a lot of devout Christians in Christian colleges who become teachers or nurses. Um, as you know, I did my master's in clinical nurse leader at Georgetown University. The 2 years of full-time study from summer 2018 to summer 2020. I received my master's with 24 others, my core members, cohort 2020, CNL, clinical nurse leader at Georgetown. And that was in August 24, 2020. I guess, like, interestingly enough, God timed my study to coincide with rise of COVID, right? Who knows? Maybe God has prepared me for this very purpose. You never know. Until God fully reveals why God does what He does. You see. But when you're open to the will of God, um, God will raise you up and use you for His glory. Um, I hope that many of my clinical nurse leaders will also be cognizant of what God may have in store for them. Because it's a Catholic university, majority of the students are Christians, obviously. And this is a Christian country, out of 330 million Americans, over 300 million Americans are Christians of all races, all ethnicities. It's Christian America. I mean, there are a few exceptions, but exceptions prove the rule. Um, yeah, I want to do a cheer for my clinical nurse leaders whom I graduated with from Georgetown, which is a Catholic university. CNL 2020. Yay, Georgetown University. You're listening to French music in the background because France became number one in Europe for COVID-19 cases. There's a reason why I share French culture. There are a lot of European cultures. There's a significance. Today is not a day of celebration per se because COVID-19 kills. And Being number one in COVID-19 cases means that a lot of people in France would die. So it's not something that you want to be number one in. I mean, there are other things that you don't want to be number one in, right? And this is one of those things. But they are number one. So it becomes an excuse to, or reason d'être, reason to be, reason to share some of the cultural artifacts, um, which music is, right? You understand the culture by their music, right? What kind of things they sing about. These these show you what's valuable in their culture. Like if you listen to country music, it shows you something about the Southern culture, because country music is popular everywhere, but it's kind of like a glorification of Southern culture, right? And my aunt Soo Kyung John, she loved country music. That was her favorite music, American music. And she's an artist. Um, she did her Master of Fine Arts at University of Delaware, and so she's taught art and created great, beautiful art. Um, yeah, so and French are kind of known for art, right? They you think about Picasso, who's actually not French, um, but he became synonymous with French modern art because he lived in France. I live in America now. I came from Korea, so I am an intellectual who is a ethnically Korean intellectual, but I'm also an American intellectual because I live in America. So Picasso is like that. France became his home. So that's why people think of Picasso as a French artist. So I'm like an American thinker, American intellectual. Although I'm Korean, ethnically, racially. I'm 100% pure-blooded Korean for 5,000 years. Most Koreans are, because they're very particular about their cultural heritage, racial purity. Koreans are like that. Chinese are like that. Japanese are like that. Filipinos are like that. Vietnamese are like that. Indians are like that. Pakistanis. Majority of the people around the world, they want to preserve their identity. Racially, ethnically, religiously, culturally. So that's part of human experience because humans associate with each other and create group identity, but that group identity also enforces individual identity, right? Uh, so you have a city, you have a state, you have a town. These become your identity markers. And the way we forge our identity is by eating together, what the New Testament scholars call table fellowship. And Jesus engaged in quote table fellowship with his 12 disciples, and you know, um, so there's a whole body of academic literature on Jesus's table fellowship. So it's by eating together you bond, right? You bond at an emotional level, you bond at a mental, intellectual level, and you bond as a group through eating together. So who you eat with, even when you're like, in seventh grade in middle school, shows who you are, right? Because you eat with people you want to eat with. Even when you go to the prison and see people eating, there are those who eat together. The Black Panthers, the Aryan Nation, you know, um, different groups eat together, and eating together is a way to forge an identity at an individual level and at a group level. As you know, I'm a professional historian trained at UCLA. Uh, so I understand these things and I study these as an expert, as a professional. Um, and so it's kind of interesting. When I went to European Association for Biblical Studies, I socialized and ate together, shared table fellowship with people I wanted to. Obviously, all of us share it together, but even within our group, we come to know each other better, a little bit more than others. We choose who we want to associate with, right? And often it is through talking together, eating together, you come to understand yourself better. You come to understand what you want in life, right? So, I met Susanna Miller. She's a professor at University of Edinburgh in Scotland. She looks young, right? She's probably, around 26 or something. She did her bachelor's, master's, and PhD at Cambridge University in England. Um, and she went lightning speed. So she's brilliant and she's beautiful. So obviously I want to associate with her. And I was looking forward to seeing her again. She's the one right in the center there at the annual conference of European Association for Biblical Studies in Wuppertal in Germany. That was in August 2020, but it got canceled because of COVID. So I didn't get to see her again. Who knows? Maybe she could have been, Mrs. Heerak Kim. I don't know. But I mean, I was really seriously interested in her, but God may have other plans, right? For some reason, I didn't get to see her again, and that may alter her history forever, my history forever, because we kind of look cute together, don't we? I mean, we make a great couple. I would say, she looks happy, I look happy. There was like an instant kind of a, attraction there. Spark. Um, but life is like that, right? You have factors beyond your control. And some of you may be able to relate to that, maybe in a romance department, but also in a professional setting. It could be in an educational setting. My father received a full scholarship to do a PhD at Princeton University because he was one of the brightest persons in his seminary. He was like number one. So he got a full scholarship to Princeton University, but he fell in love with my mother, and he decided to marry her. And he was so much in love with my mother, he didn't want to leave her behind. Because at the time when my dad was studying, most people who went to do PhD, they couldn't afford to take the wife and the kids. So they went alone. So there are Korean pastors who did their PhD in theology, who were separated from their wife and children for 2, 3 years at a time, and sometimes 5, 6 years. The whole PhD program. They couldn't fly back to Korea because they didn't have money. you know. So my dad didn't have any money, but he had a ticket to fly over, ticket to fly back, and then food tuition paid, meals paid, and they give him free housing, and little something to survive, buy clothing or whatever bucks. So he could have come and done that, and that was his life stream to do the PhD and you know become a college professor, and but he threw away that dream because that dream that he had all of his life, ever since he was little, was nothing compared to who my mother was to him. Right? My mother became his new dream, the most important thing in the world, and he could not bear to be away from her even for one day because he was so much in love. And my mom told me that she still had boxes of poems that he wrote her. And so for my dad, it wasn't even a difficult decision. He decided right away he's not going to take the full scholarship, and he's just because he loves his wife. So he became a pastor in the church, and that became his main direction. So he could have been a professor, maybe even at Harvard or Yale in theology. You know, maybe he become the greatest theologian the Korean country produced. But he gave that all up. For my mother, and he has no regrets. That's what love is, right? Um, and so uh, you know, um, it's kind of like that. If I saw Susanna Miller again at Wuppertal, who knows? I might have, done something rash and proposed to her. Something I don't know. I have a friend, Eugene Zeiser. His father went to U.S. Naval Academy, and on the first blind date, he proposed to Eugene's mother. And she said no. He asked her out again and proposed to her on the second date. She said yes, and they got married. They've been happily married ever since. Um, for men, as you know, like men are different from women. Women need to get to know you to fall in love with you, right? That's what women always say. Men are not like that. Men are very superficial, men are very shallow, and men fall in love with what they see. The woman is pretty, and there's a spark, you know. Men, men don't really need to get to know her more to fall in love, you know. That was like, it was like that for my father. He saw my mother sing at a church and fell instantly in love, and he knew that he wanted to marry her. Um, and being a shy guy as he was, he took the steps to get married to her, and she accepted, and so they got married. You know, and it's like that. You know, life is like that. You know, obviously you need two to tango. You know, my mom said no, they would not have gotten married. But you know, like Susanna Miller, she's very pretty. You know, and you know, I mean, I think, you know, we look cute as cute together, right? I mean, if we became a couple, we would be a very cute couple. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't you think we would make a cute couple if we became like an item? Um, you know, she's a chairman of animals in the Bible section at European Association of Biblical Studies. So she loves animals. I love animals. You know, so it's like I felt quite compatible with her. Just um, but maybe that wasn't to be. Wuppertal, I could have been there for a week. You know, maybe seal the deal, and then we might have been married by on Christmas Day or whatever if there wasn't COVID. You know what I mean? It's like things can go really fast. When you love each other. Um, but maybe that wasn't meant to be. COVID canceled Wuppertal's, Germany's European Association for Biblical Studies. She's, for me, she's actually an ideal woman, right? She has a beautiful, like, English accent. For all I know, she could be nobility or royalty. Um, she has a bachelor's, master's, and PhD from Cambridge. She's like 26 or whatever, and she's already a professor at one of the best universities in the world. She's smart, pretty, great sense of humor, and we look cute together as a couple. And she has beautiful blue eyes, and like, and a kind of a blondish, dirty blonde, reddish hair. I guess, kind of, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's not kind of blondish hair, right? Dirty blondish hair. And we look cute together as a couple too. I mean, and she seemed to like me. Um, yeah, but life is like that. Sometimes, you know, something that you think could be perfect doesn't always work out the way it could. Um, but that's life. And you see my scholar friends there. European Association for Biblical Studies, and yeah, this is all in Poland. And yeah, so I mean, I met her, and then the more I thought about her, I thought she could be. So I was planning to go back to Wuppertal to see. I mean, I felt like she would be, perfect woman, wife. I would say, someone to you could spend eternal, your life with. She's that kind of a woman, in my opinion. But I mean, obviously, I don't know her very well, but that generally, your first impression is correct, and men fall in love with their first impressions, generally, not like their second or third impressions. That's like more women. Women, they want to get to know you. Men, they don't really, what they see is why they love the woman, and then they, it's not, it's not so important for men that you find out so much about her. It's not, men are shallow. But women, I think they kind of need to get to know you to fall in love. That's why men date. Because not because they want the dating part. They want to get to the end, right, men? But women need that. That's why men date for the sake of women. Generally, I mean, most men, unless like you have no feeling for the woman that you may wanna, or she's not that pretty, then you date just to kind of, But you kind of know in the beginning, um, and um, yeah, but she has to feel the same. You know what I'm saying? I mean, And the women need the time, so you kind of provide her the opportunity to get to know you better. I get to know some other colleagues. I there was a woman from Spain, Madrid, went to the best university in Madrid, Harvard of Spain, Universidad Complutense in Madrid. So we had lunch together, and we talked and got to know each other. It was fun. So she's an expert in Jewish studies, like Susanna Miller is. It was a fun time. You go to these conferences, you meet people, and you want to get to know some people better, and you spend time with them, and you become friends with some. Sometimes romance develops. Some people get married. That's how it happens. It happens over talking to each other. Look how close I am with Susanna, right? That's like certain what less than half a foot away from each other. You're like a couple few inches away, right? That's how you get to know each other. Talk very close. Uh, and share a meal together. Share all kinds of things together. Um, yeah, but unfortunately, because of COVID-19, the normative ways of socializing are gone, right? I feel so bad for you women out there who are single, women who are 18 to 24, 25, who are in a marriageable age. Your whole youth is gone now. By the time COVID is gone, it may never be gone, but you're going to miss out on everything. And I feel so sad for you, the women out there who are single, like all the beautiful nurses out there. There are 4 million nurses. All the nurses who graduated from nursing school this year, last year, year before that. Can you imagine how sucky this is? This situation is. You can't like date or out, date. You can't really like, enjoy like fun times. Um, because of COVID. It's not just the nurses, right? It's future teachers of America. Students who are in teacher education programs now as a freshman, sophomore, over 18, they're adults. They're never going to be able to like enjoy their social life and date and you know, uh, this generation, the current women who are 18 to 24 may be the most tragic generation in the history of the United States of America. You know, because it's COVID-19, it can go for like years, decades. By the time COVID-19 is over, 18-year-olds can be like 28, 38. And if they're not married, they're like, they may become barren by then. Yeah, so it's tragic for women. Um, Women who will never be able to fall in love because of COVID-19. You know, Women who will never form a family and become spinsters. This is the tragedy of COVID-19. And, it is so sad, you know. And, some of the women have to settle down with men, settle for men who they already know. Because there's no other way of meeting. Like, Susanna, like, if she met me at Wuppertal, we could become a couple, maybe get married. And, I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century, right? I'm like an amazing person who comes around once every 500 years. But she may have to settle down and get married to someone she already knows who's far inferior. How tragic is that? Um, but, you get my point, right? I'm just trying to show you that many women have to marry someone who they already know, you know, although they may be able to meet a man who's far better. Um, and that's the sad thing. Romance is thrown out the window. I mean, how are you going to write a romance story with COVID, really? I mean, I'm a writer, as you know. I wrote romance books, short stories. You could Google my name, Heerak, came on Amazon, and then read my books. Short stories, fictional short stories, fictional novels, fictional plays, and you can read about romance. And I'm really good at writing about love and romance. Um, but where's the romance in COVID-19 America, in COVID-19 Scotland, COVID-19 world, right? You know, I mean, it's tragic right now, especially for women, single women. I feel for you, because I mean, there is no tragedy greater than women 18 to 26 not being able to flower. They're going to wither away and die without a sunlight, you know, in darkness, COVID-19 darkness, with without men to appreciate their beauty. He's always wearing a mask, right? You can't even see their face. And they're going to get, how babies get diaper rash? I mean, these women who wear masks all the time, they're going to get rash in their face. You know? Can you imagine that? I mean, it's like they don't have herpes, but it looks like they have herpes because they have like rash from the mask. You know? And some of them that could be, that could cause all kinds of skin conditions. You know what I mean? With delicate skin like that on your face. I mean, geez, you may develop like some kind of skin rash that becomes permanent, like doesn't go away from your face because of those masks. I mean, I'm a guy, so I don't really worry about wearing a mask or, you know. But if you're a woman, I'm sure there are women out there in America who've been wearing masks and had an allergic reaction or rashes or may even develop skin infections from some masks, like if they're not properly washed or if they bought a defective mask. Like it's not like you're wearing a mask still for a few minutes. Like you're wearing your mask all the time, especially in states that require it, right? If you're at work or whatever, you're wearing your mask like for 8 hours straight. I mean, who knows what's happening under your face and your skin condition. And if you're married, at least you're married and you have a husband who loves you, so it's okay if you develop a skin condition. Your husband will continue to love you, but he may be a little bit upset about it. But certainly not as upset as you're going to be, because it's your face. But if you're not married at 18 to 24, I mean, just having a rash in your face could be like you know, that will prevent you from closing the deal on marriage. You know, guys, I mean, very superficial. Um, so yeah, I feel sorry for women who live in states with mandatory mask order because who knows what's going to happen to your face. Think about wearing a mask 365 days a year, and your state requires you wearing a mask. This is 365 days a year. Virus. We'll be talking in year 2021, November 20, 1 year from now, and all of us will be wearing a mask. This COVID-19 will not go away, and probably vaccines will not work because it's so complex and COVID-19 is mutating. So this is like a permanent condition, everyone. Um, Sadly but true. Um, I don't believe the liberal media that tries to say, well, this is going to go away. It's not going to go away. So 365 days a year. It's not a virus. It's not a seasonal virus. It's not going to go away. It's like a permanent condition. Like HIV virus is permanently here. Hepatitis C virus is permanently here. Like herpes is permanently here. It's like that. It's like permanently here. Um, yeah, but I feel bad for the women. Look at how beautiful the skin is on Susanna Miller. She's pretty and her skin's really nice. Um, if she has to wear a mask like 8 hours a day for 365 days a year, her skin can get rough around the face. Who knows what will happen to her skin, Yeah, it's just tragic. It's a tragic situation right now, you know? Yeah, I'm gonna drink my Sprite. It's not bad, Sprite zero sugar. I would recommend women to drink like zero sugar drinks or diet drinks. I mean, you may even develop a diaper rash on your face from your mask. You don't want to be gaining weight on top of it. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for women who are 18 to 24. Jeez, your whole beautiful, your height of your beauty, that stage is gone. Your face like half covered all the time if you're in that mask mandate state. Geez, your beauty will never be appreciated. How sad. How sad. Um, Yeah, so in the last 24 hours, 1,757 people have died. Um, yeah, so it's crazy out there right now. We have 11,893,096 cases. It's going up by like over 180,000 new cases every day. Every day. And if you have 180,000 cases every day and death rate goes up to 10% during flu season, we just entered it. You know, we have 6 more months to go. I mean, that's like 18,000 people dying per day, right? Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad right now. We have 254,271 people who have died in the United States alone. It's like over a quarter million. Most of it after April 2nd. As you know, I started my show on April 2nd. There was only like 7,000 people died at that time in America. Look at the numbers now. And this is like just in 6 to 7 months. You know what I'm saying? April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. I guess it's like 8 months. But yeah, so yeah, next 8 months, we're gonna have at least 252,514 or 254,271. Probably 10 times more than that, like 2.5 million. You know, because we're going through the flu season, right? It makes sense, right? So when is 8 months from now? Now is November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, you know, around that time. Yeah, we'll probably have 2.5 million or more people dead because we're going through the flu season now. Yeah, in France, and you listen to French music in the background, France is number one in Europe for COVID-19 cases. 2.1 million cases, or more like, if you round up, 2.2 million cases. Deaths are 48,340, 2% death rate. So in the summer, you know, death rate was low, but now, you know, as flu season becomes stronger, you'll see death rate go up drastically. Russia is number 2 now, used to be number 1, with 2,023,025 cases. Death is at 2% rate and 34,980. Spain is number 3, 1,556,730 cases. Death is at 42,619, 3% death rate. United Kingdom is number 4 with 1,477,214 cases. Death is at 54,381, 4% death rate. Italy is 1,345,767 cases and 4% death rate. 48,569. You really regret nothing? You know what I'm saying? Now that there's COVID and you can't do what you were planning to do you have no regrets? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's the song, right? Yeah, this is a really bad situation now. Because you're in a lose-lose situation, everybody in the world is in a lose-lose situation. And let me explain to you why. We have one of our greatest holidays, Thanksgiving holiday, next week, Thursday. It's a lose-lose situation because if you have a family Thanksgiving, people can get COVID and die because you had that family Thanksgiving. But it's also possible nobody dies, you know? Everybody, you know, some people may get COVID, but they'll survive. But let's say people do die. So that's the tragedy, right? People can die, get infected from a extended family Thanksgiving. But you know what the other tragedy is? And you may not have thought about it, and the liberal media is not talking about it. And that is the other tragedy is that you don't have a family Thanksgiving, and your mom and dad, they die anyway because they get COVID-19 from somewhere else. While they're shopping for food at giant food stores or Walmart, they get COVID from somebody else and they die like from that, like December 15th. And then you're there kicking yourself because you're like, Thanksgiving was our last chance to have a happy family gathering and dinner. Forget about all the pain and suffering from COVID. I mean, my mom and dad were going to die anyway. You're thinking to yourself, at least we could have had Thanksgiving together. So you're going to have regrets. You're going to be kicking yourself. So some of you are going to suffer that because some of your parents will die before Christmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And that's the tragedy. It's a lose-lose situation. Let's say you don't have family Thanksgiving. It doesn't guarantee that your mother and father will survive until next Thanksgiving, okay? Right? So not only can they die between Thanksgiving and Christmas of this year, like that 1 month period, they could die like in January, because COVID is going to be crazy in January. They could die in February. They could die in March. They could die in April. You know how many people died in April in New York? Remember that? How crazy that was? They could even die in the summer. They may not make it to next Thanksgiving. They may not make it to next Easter. Do you remember how many deaths there were in Easter? We had like over 7,000 deaths per day in Easter, mostly from New York. So, it's a catch-22, right? If you have family Thanksgiving, at least you have happy moment. Make sure you videotape everything. But they could die. Your family members could get COVID and die. But if you don't have happy Thanksgiving, and your parents can still die of COVID. So what are you going to do, right? And that's why I'm not going to make a decision for you. You have to make the decision yourself. Because at the end of the day, your quality of life is important too, right? There is no guarantee that if you don't have family Thanksgiving, that your relatives will not die. They could still die. But the difference is if you have family Thanksgiving, they have joyful, happy memories that they could treasure. The people who survive can treasure that. And people who die can die happily because they had that experience. Some of them. So that's the decision everyone has to make for themselves, my recommendation is that you have, Thanksgiving just with your family, people who live under your roof right now. Don't invite anyone in. That's my recommendation. But my recommendation is based on trying to help keep you alive, right? You and your children alive. But we're not just about you and your children, right? You have parents, you have sisters, brothers, you have cousins, you have friends. Some of them will die from COVID. And Thanksgiving is maybe the last time before they're dead. Because a lot of people are going to die. That you can have some fun moments together. And make sure you videotape everything if you're going to have a family Thanksgiving. Because it may be the last one you have with some of your family members. But, that's the thing. They may still die even though you don't have family Thanksgiving. 6 months is a long time. I'm predicting 3 million Americans will die, but up to 30 million. COVID-19 is airborne. So if somebody has COVID and starts sneezing and coughing, it's all over the air. Even if you're wearing a mask, you still get it. It's not foolproof. I mean, every expert knows that. Airborne precautions. So even if you wear a mask all the time and you have diaper rash on your face because you're wearing a mask, you can still get COVID. Because COVID is airborne precautions. Can you imagine that? If you're 18-year-old girl, 19, 20-year-old girl, and you're wearing a mask, you have these diaper rashes that look like, something like herpes or something, and then you die, like in April, you almost made it, but you didn't, and you died, and you didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, you didn't celebrate Christmas, you did nothing. See how tragic that could be? So at the end of the day, everyone has to decide for themselves. Because some people may think like, well, it's worth the risk to have a family Thanksgiving. Because it may be the last Thanksgiving I will celebrate with my, my mom and dad, or my brothers and sisters, my best friends. Especially if you're older, if you're like 60, 70, this may be the last Thanksgiving you celebrate with your friends. Um, so some of you may decide, well, I will take the risk for quality of my life. People take risks all the time, right? As I said, sometimes, men, you go scuba diving because you wanna enjoy the water. I mean, it's a dangerous sport, but you do it because in your opinion, that it improves your quality of life. You go skiing, right? Skiing is dangerous. People die from skiing. I think one of the Kennedys skied into a tree and died like several years ago. Um, but you ski anyway because that's something you enjoy. It improves your quality of life. Some people like to bungee jump or skydive, parachute. You know, People take risks all the time. Some people ride motorcycle. Motorcycle is a dangerous thing to ride. If you get in a car accident, you can become crippled or die, right? Because there's really no protection, right? You're on a motorcycle, especially if you're traveling at 65 miles an hour. But people like to enjoy riding motorcycles, some of them, and they prefer that. It's the quality of life. Like some people choose their quality of life. Um, and I mean, you can't say they're committing suicide. That's an exaggeration because they're not taking their own life. They're taking certain risks, but they're being very careful about it, right? But they want to enjoy their life. So you cannot say they're committing suicide. They're not. Suicide is when you actually take your life. Bungee jumping is not committing suicide. Scuba diving is not committing suicide. Getting together with your family for Thanksgiving is not committing suicide. You're taking risks, and you could die, but it's not suicide. You can't exaggerate with these things. As I said, I would recommend you just celebrate Thanksgiving just with like people who are under your roof. That's what I would recommend, because my recommendation is based on I want you to survive. Um, I'm not going home to my parents' home in Delaware for Thanksgiving because I don't want to give them COVID. For me, I want them to live, and so I don't want to take the risks. Um, you know, but some parents may not feel the same. Some parents may want you to come for Thanksgiving, and that's their sincere wish. And they could die before Christmas. They could die before Easter. So they're telling you come for Thanksgiving. What are you going to do as a son or daughter? You say no. I mean, that's something that you have to discuss with your wife, and also discuss whether you're going to bring your children. But maybe your parents want you to come for a big Thanksgiving. It's like last hurrah, you know. Uh, and for some people, that's important, right? And that's why you got to decide for yourself. I don't believe the liberal media that like tries to portray Thanksgiving dinners as like suicide pacts. It's not like that. Human beings have needs. They have emotional needs. Human beings have need for belonging. Human beings have need for affection. Human beings have need for, physically seeing people. And in major holidays, these needs become stronger, you know? And who knows, like if you don't go to your parents' Thanksgiving when they really want you to, they may commit suicide. Christmas is, most suicides happen in Christmas. So I've heard some people say, I haven't really verified it, because like people get lonely. They need like family or friends or loved ones. So I would be surprised if some elderly people commit suicide on Thanksgiving because their children refuse to come for Thanksgiving. I'm sure that's going to happen in all 50 states with some elderly people. So you gotta play it by ear. I mean, if your parents' dying wish is for you to come and have Thanksgiving with them, their dying wish, meaning like they know that they could die from it, but they want this. How are you gonna respond? Now, that's something that you gotta pray about, think about, talk to your wife about. Because if you're married, obviously you do things together. Um, but the reason I'm explaining this is life is not very simple. Life is complicated, right? You cannot just monolithically think about one thing. Like, like I see liberal media, they're like, oh, just make a mask mandate for everyone. As I've shown you, women who are 18 to 24 may have permanent deformity in their face because of the mask mandate, because they'll have to wear a mask 365 days a year, every day, right? Even outside when they're walking alone, when they're driving. Um, so it could be extreme, mask mandate could be an extreme thing. Um, so I'm just saying, we have to learn to look at it from different perspectives. Obviously, my priority is to save your life, your children's life. So my recommendations will centralize that. But I just wanted to share with you and let you know that there are other dimensions, right, to everything, right? Life is not just monolithic. It's not 2D. We don't live in a 2D world. We live in a 3D world. It's very complicated. Um, and liberal progressives want to make life really simple. They want to reduce life to like formulas, right? Everybody wear a mask. Life is not like that. It's not that simple. And that's why, liberal progressives, that's just why I never would join the Democratic Party. Democratic Party is filled with like liberal progressives are like very anti-intellectual. They're very like monolithic. Um, they simplify everything and things are not that simple. Um, yeah, so today's theme is no Thanksgiving dinner, question mark, COVID-19 USA. First article, a doctor's Thanksgiving, please stay home and stay safe. I mean, it makes sense, right? If you stay home, you probably won't get infected. But remember, we have 6 more months of flu season to go. 6 times 30, that's 180 days. I mean, just because you stay away on Thanksgiving doesn't guarantee you're not going to get COVID. You may die from COVID before Christmas, before Easter, from another place, right? You could be in an elevator with someone who has COVID, he starts sneezing and coughing, and you're wearing a mask, it's airborne, you can still get it. You could die from that. You see what I'm saying? Um, while you're dying in a hospital, you may be like, man, I wish I had the Thanksgiving dinner with my family. You know what I'm saying? So those are some things you got to consider, right? We're not talking about Halloween here, one freakish holiday you could do without. We're talking about Thanksgiving, which is like a, very family-oriented holiday with traditions, and some families have like decades of traditions or hundreds of years of traditions. And it's not just about getting together, right? It's like a feast. I mean, some people look forward to Thanksgiving because you have like 17, 18 different pies, In terms of eating event in the year, that's the best eating event in the year, right? Thanksgiving. So missing that obviously cuts into your quality of life, It's a once a year culinary extravaganza that you're going to forgo if you don't have Thanksgiving. And you may still get COVID and die. You could get COVID anywhere, really. So I don't blame you if you want to have a Thanksgiving dinner, but I want to tell you, you are taking risk. Obviously, far more than if you don't have a Thanksgiving dinner, like with a bunch of people. You see what I'm saying? But I want to show you both sides of the, several sides of the story. So Elizabeth Corman in NPR was a doctor who's pleading. She's probably married and has a lovely husband and children. So she's fulfilled what she wanted socially. Like she has a social unit that she could spend time with. Not everybody's that fortunate, right? There are a lot of single women, 18 to 24, who live alone in apartments in Washington, D.C., Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church. who've been counting the days to go home to Ohio or Wisconsin to spend Thanksgiving with their family, right? Um, so, these single women, 18, 24, 26, they're different from this doctor who's happily married with children. Like, she has everything she needs inside her roof. Not everybody has that luxury or blessing. You see what I'm saying? Um, yeah, so life is very complicated. Um, but this doctor says, but this year Thanksgiving will be my apartment in Seattle, for far from my parents' Chicago home. My siblings will be scattered across the country with their children. Maybe she's not married. There will probably be a Zoom call and waves and smiles through a screen, a poor but necessary substitute for something much more joyous. But this is the only way to celebrate in 2020, because I'm determined that this Thanksgiving will not be my family's last. Well, it's a wishful thinking. You can't guarantee that, as I said. Um, and she knows that. She's a doctor. It's hard to imagine a more dangerous holiday than Thanksgiving 2020. It's probably true. It, your chance of getting COVID is probably highest during Thanksgiving. So she's probably accurate in that regard. Um, Second article, um, Why Even a Small Thanksgiving is Dangerous by Maggie Korth in 538. So the quote is, but now with COVID-19 rates on the rise basically everywhere in the US, those small gatherings are being blamed for spreading the virus. Like just getting together with a few of your friends, like Friends. I don't know if you've seen TV episodes of Friends. Just kind of hanging out with your buddies, with your friends, your peeps. Um, um, those small gatherings are being blamed for spreading the virus. And experts say they don't want us to have Thanksgiving celebration with people outside of the household bubbles. Like household bubble mean like you and your wife and your children, or you and your roommates, in an apartment. Um, but experts are always telling us not to do the fun stuff that nourishes our soul, like eating huge meals or festively increasing our drinking, while the darkness of winter encroaches from every side. Having 10 people around the Thanksgiving table can't be that much of a risk to society, right? So this person is thinking in terms of risk to society, but most people think about what they want for themselves, right? They don't think about the society, right? I would say 99% of the people don't think about society; they think about themselves. They seek self-interest. That's why democracy works. Everybody seeks their self-interest. Um, Surely they can't have a super spreader event without at least enough people to field a football team. Across the nation, especially in the Midwest, cases have skyrocketed. That's true. With some states seeing more cases in the last 6 or so weeks than they previously had all year up to that point. And that has spiked it. Some of these Midwestern states have 150 deaths right now. So you're going to see further spikes in death. Some of these states will have 200, 300, 400, 500 deaths. So that's coming in the next few days. So she makes some sense, right? Maybe she's making sense. Um, but humans are not robots. That's the problem, right? You can't just turn off and on emotions. And sometimes people have a need, like they have an emotional need to be with their friend. If they're sad or they're happy. And some people are willing to take the risk with COVID for them. And that, that's the tragedy, because you can't have it all, right? If you spend time with your friends, you could get COVID and die. That's a risk. So you have to think to yourself, am I willing to take the risk or not? And, Maggie is not willing to take the risk. And, she may survive COVID-19 because she's not taking the risk. Right? Obviously, not taking the risk gives you a higher chance of surviving. Right? But she could still die because, as I said, she could be in an elevator with someone and that person has COVID and starts sneezing without a mask, and COVID is everywhere inside that little elevator compartment. And even if you're wearing a mask, it's not going to protect you fully from that, or the aerosolized COVID inside that elevator. And most elevators don't give you 6 feet of distance anyway. All right, so even if you were airborne, you can still get COVID just from the droplets. Because how many elevators do you know where you can social distance 6 feet? Really? You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, I mean, if you live in an apartment, you get COVID just by taking the elevator back and forth. Even if you walk up and down the staircase, I mean, if there are people walking up or down the staircase, you're probably not going to be 6 feet apart. So yeah, you understand what I'm saying, right? I'm just describing to you scenarios here, realistic scenarios. Um, Third article, CDC warns America do not travel for Thanksgiving. Like flying in a plane for like 4 hours, you're just like asking for it, right? You know how crowded those planes are? Erica Edwards, this article, NBC News, and the significant quote from that is Americans should avoid travel for Thanksgiving, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention recommended. I mean, everybody's getting desperate. Center for Disease Control and Prevention is realizing that it's possible for millions of Americans to die by June. So they're getting desperate. Like, they're telling you not to travel. That's how desperate they are. They're not even saying don't travel by car or air. They're just saying don't travel at all. Can you detect the desperation in their voice coming through the recommendation that you should not travel at all? Because they know millions of Americans can die. You know, um, yeah, experts are beginning to understand that I'm absolutely right on that point. You see what I'm saying? I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. Someone like me comes around every 500 years. Of course, I'm going to be right. I'm not surprised, right? Everybody's starting to come to my position because I make predictions using expertise and interdisciplinary analytical approaches. So my estimations and predictions end up being proved to be highly effective and highly accurate. Um, so um, so they recommended that Thursday, which was yesterday, it was a last minute attempt. See, even the article recognized that it was a last minute attempt by the nation's leading public health agency to curb what sure to yet sure to be yet another dangerous spike in COVID-19 cases with families gathered next week. But as I said, I understand that it's true. Center of Disease Control is right. But as I said, human beings are not robots. We are not just flesh and blood. We are soul, right? We have soul, we have heart. And if your mom and dad are pleading for you to come for Thanksgiving, right? My mom and dad are not. Obviously, they they don't, they value life. They want to live, 10, 20 years more. Um, but what if you have parents who want you to come Thanksgiving? Are you gonna say no? What if they die before Christmas? You can never see them again. How are you gonna feel about that? So it's not very simple, right? Uh, Human life is not simple. Human life is filled with decisions you have to make, critical thinking you have to have in interpersonal relationships. Um, you know, how are you gonna feel if you don't go and see your mom and dad in Ohio or Illinois, and they end up dying before Christmas? How are you gonna feel about that? How are you gonna feel about yourself? These are things that you have to ask. Life is not just about COVID; it's about relationships, right? Relationships matter. So you have to think about impact of relationships. Um, Sometimes romantic songs have a tinge of sadness in them. I don't know if you saw the movie Cinema Paradiso, but it's one of my favorite films. And it's a romance movie. And it has happy moments, but it has sad moments. The thing about Romeo and Juliet, there's sad moments and happy moments, right? Some of the most greatest, some of the greatest romantic novels, plays, have both the paradise of romantic elation and the hell of tragedy that may be related directly to the romance itself or maybe something that's in the environment. It's life is like that. You know, um, who do you have the worst fights with? Probably your wife, right? The one that you love the most, you have the most painful fights with. Um, and human experience is beautiful, but also tragic. It's like yin and yang. That's why Chinese and Koreans we talk about yin and yang. If you look at the Korean flag, you have the red and blue in a yin and yang format because every experience is like that. Every happy experience has sad sadness that is a potentially there that you may experience. Um, yeah, you know, and I think like when you hear like the country music from the south, or like love songs in Europe from Europe, you kind of realize that when you listen to the words. Um, yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed this show. I hope that I was able to give you some things to think about in terms of Thanksgiving. Maybe you've been ignoring asking these questions, but we're less than a week away from Thanksgiving. Um, so you do need to ask these questions and decide what you want for yourself. I don't believe in the liberal media that tries to reduce everything to zero. Um, Life is never that simple. Yeah, I hope that whatever decision you make, you'll be happy with it. Um, that's you cannot always be thinking about other people, right? You got to think about yourself. They say if everyone took care of themselves, the society would be good. That's what they say. So my encouragement is just to take care of yourself. Do what you want to do. Don't worry about others. Think about yourself. Because when you die, you're gone. You, you know, um, what you have is here on earth, right? I mean, after you die, you either go to heaven or hell based on whether you believe in Jesus as your Lord and Savior. But, you know, insofar as the earth is concerned, what you have is on this earth. And you have to decide what is the most important for you. See what I'm saying? Um, yeah, I don't believe the liberal media. Liberal media tries to make it like, oh, the vaccines are going to save you. You're not going to die of COVID after the vaccine. They're a little bit reductionistic. I get the feeling like a lot of journalists are not critical thinkers. You know, they like put hope in a vaccine like it's a superstition. They don't think critically. They don't think like, what if vaccines don't work? That's a critical way to think, right? Um, but they're like, oh, vaccines are going to work, everything's going to be okay, we're going to go back to normal. That's the kind of message that liberal media gives, and it's really reductionistic and really irrational, in my opinion. Certainly devoid of critical thinking, and it's kind of sad that journalists who are supposed to be truth speakers uh, push superstition like that. Oh, COVID-19 is going to vaccine is going to work. It's going to work. They say it's 95 effective in the lab. I mean, they're like blind faith in the vaccine. Um, that's just not critical thinking. You see what I'm saying? Critical thinking questions, right? If you blindly believe that a vaccine is going to work, that's a belief. It's not critical thinking or fact. You see what I'm saying? Um, yeah, I mean, scientists should work with evidence, empirical evidence, and you can't just blindly be superstitious and say, oh, the vaccine's going to work. That's superstition, you know? Yeah, but anyway, so, when we think about, Thanksgiving, let's approach it as people who are living in reality, right? This COVID-19 can be here next Thanksgiving as well, Thanksgiving after that. It is possible for your elderly parents to get infected with COVID in the elevator of the apartment they live in, or you could get infected with COVID-19 in the elevator of the apartment you live in. If you ride with someone who has COVID and who just choose, lifting their mask, right? Um, and you may die before Christmas. Your parents may die before Christmas. So these are things you have to think about. You have to think. Right? We're rational beings. You have to think, and then you do the pros and cons, and then you come up with a rational decision. Obviously, we are relational beings, so you should talk to your loved ones, and you talk to if your parents invited you for Thanksgiving, talk to them. You have to weigh different things, right? You can't just reduce this to zero. Yeah, I hope this show helped you to think about this, because it's Friday. It's about less than a week away, Thanksgiving, and some of you are still trying to decide whether to have a Thanksgiving dinner at home, whether to go to Thanksgiving dinner, by your family members. So I thought this show is important, trying to help you and guide you to critical thinking. I mean, you decide. Obviously, it's your life. You decide. You're not a slave. But I'm just encouraging you to think for yourself. Think on your own. Think, pursue your self-interest. Because if you are good to yourself and you are happy in the decisions you make about yourself, then the society will be better, right? Have you heard of burnout by volunteers and people who try to help everyone else, but they don't help themselves? Sometimes, they have a nervous breakdown because of that. Sometimes they go into anxiety. And some of these volunteers are unhappy because they don't take care of themselves. It's important for you to take care of yourself. Do something that you enjoy. You know, pursue your own self-interest. From the very beginning, as you may have noticed from this show, from the very beginning of this show, I said, wear a mask to protect your own life. And Dr. Gupta and Dr. Fauci, they're like, wear a mask to protect other people's lives. I don't like their attitude, because at the end of the day, the most important person is you. You need to take care of yourself first before you can take care of other people. And whether you wear a mask or not should be governed primarily by your self-interest. We live in a democracy. We're not in a groupthink communist dictatorship here. We're in a democracy. You should pursue your own interest. And from the very beginning, I have said, you should wear a mask to protect your own life. If it helps other people too, that's great. But first, think of your own life. And that's the approach I've always taken. And this is where I disagree with Dr. Gupta. I disagree with Dr. Fauci. I think when we encourage people to seek their own interest, that's when we have a better society. But I think Dr. Gupta and Dr. Fauci thinks that when people seek the interest of others, then we're going to have a better society. I disagree. I'm an expert historian, as you know. So in a sense, this is an expert advice, expert assessment based on my decades of research in history. Whenever people pursue their own self-interest, everybody's better off. Yeah. Yeah, so pursue your own self-interest. Do what you want to do. You're not a slave. If you want to go to Thanksgiving dinner at your parents, go to your Thanksgiving dinner. Obviously, be sensitive to their feelings, and you have a relationship with them. So obviously, you need to be cognizant of that. But at the end of the day, you need to seek your own primary interest, right? Um, for some people, making their parents happy makes them happy, right? So it is their interest. You see what I mean? But not everybody's that way. Um, so uh, so you know you need to decide what you want. You're not a slave. You decide what you want. You have 1 week to think about it and decide. Um, but as I said, 3 million, 30 million people are going to die by June. And logically speaking, the best way to survive is like hankering down and just celebrating Thanksgiving with people under your own roof, like your children, your wife, whatever. But as I said, you could get COVID just by being in an elevator with somebody who sneezes, lifting his mask. So, you know, um, nothing is foolproof. You know, um, Obviously, people who are careful have higher chance of survival, but that doesn't guarantee it. You see what I'm saying? There's no guarantees in life. At the end of the day, you got to do what you want to do, right? Um, and life is short. Even if you live maximum 100 to 110 years, 20 years, that's all you have. So seek your interest. Do what you want to do. Do what makes you happy. That's very important because you should be happy. You deserve to be happy. Um, because you're not a slave. You don't. You need to prioritize yourself, right? Um, yeah. So I hope that you'll be good to yourself this Thanksgiving. Do what you want to do. Obviously, weigh the different factors that I've mentioned here. Pray about it. If you're Christian, even if you're not Christian, you may want to pray about it. Um, because God does exist. You know. Um, so yeah. So anyway, I will come with some more stuff that will help you in this Thanksgiving season. This time as COVID-19 spikes everywhere in America. This is a daily show. So yeah, you're welcome to come tomorrow and watch the show again. Um, yeah, I think this show is very important. I think you agree with me because this is a show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak. It tackles many different issues and many different levels, and that's why it's one of a kind in the world. There's nothing like it, as you know. Yeah, so let other people know, share the joy. Other people may benefit greatly from it too. So I hope that you will be well and that your family will be well. And I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.